What they're not saying out loud about Ukraine's attack on Russia isn't some secret weapon, it's the pattern. Because while the world argues over front lines, something else is happening in the dark. Far behind them, fuel tanks burning, processing nodes flashing on thermal cameras, and air defense crews forced to make million-dollar decisions in seconds. On December 25th to 26th, Reuters reported that Ukrainian long-range drones hit oil product tanks at Russia's port of Temryuk and a gas processing plant in Orenburg, according to an SBU official. If you want more breaking, documentary-style battlefield breakdowns like this, consider subscribing, because the real shock isn't the explosion, it's what it reveals about how modern wars are being won. Quietly, systematically, and at a cost Russia can't intercept its way out of forever. Let's lock this to what's been reported, because in war, claims move faster than confirmation. First, Reuters reported a Ukrainian SBU official said drones struck oil product tanks at the Russian port of Temryuk, Azov Sea, and hit a gas processing plant in the Orenburg region. Then on December 26th, Reuters reported local officials said the blaze at Temryuk triggered by the drone attack was put out and fuel reservoirs were being cooled. Second, separate reporting described Ukraine striking Russia's Novoshakhtinsk oil refinery, with The Guardian reporting it was hit using British-supplied Storm Shadow missiles. Now here's what matters. Even when exact damage levels are debated, the targeting logic is clear. Ports, fuel storage, gas processing, refineries. Not trenches, not a single decisive battle. This is the invisible war underneath the visible war. The war over energy, logistics, and tempo. The things that decide how long an army can keep moving when the cameras aren't rolling. Here's the part most people miss. A refinery isn't just an economic site. It's a war engine component. Fuel is what turns a plan into movement. Trucks, generators, rail, aviation, armored vehicles, resupply runs. And when you hit oil product tanks at a port, you're not just trying to light something on fire. You're trying to force a chain reaction. Reroute shipments, disperse storage, add security layers, slow schedules, increase cost per delivery, create hesitation in every logistical decision. In Reuters reporting, the SBU official framed the strikes as part of a strategy to hit Russia's oil and gas sector and complicate logistics and fuel supplies for the military. And ports matter because ports are timing machines. Storage, transfer, schedules, rail links, road links. You disrupt one node and everything downstream starts improvising. In a long war, improvisation is expensive, and the side that forces the other side to improvise, day after day, starts winning without needing a headline. One strike is news. A campaign is strategy. Ukraine's long-range attacks on Russian energy infrastructure have been described as widening over time, pushing beyond symbolic targets towards systems that fund war and support military movement. Reuters recently reported Ukraine claimed a drone attack on a Russian oil rig in the Caspian Sea, describing it as part of a broader effort against Russian energy assets. And campaigns do something specific. They force behavior change. If Russia believes multiple categories of infrastructure are at risk, port tanks, processing plants, refineries, then even successful defense creates a new burden. More air defenses pulled back from the front, more electronic warfare coverage, more decoys, hardening, dispersion, more manpower, guarding rear nodes, more stress on budgets and maintenance cycles. The quiet story is this: the goal isn't one perfect hit. The goal is to make Russia defend everywhere, all the time, until the cost of defense becomes a second front. Air defense looks powerful until you look at the math. Systems like S-400, Panzer, layered radar networks, they were built to stop specific types of threats, but drone campaigns attack the weak points of the system itself. Saturation, multiple directions, multiple altitudes, multiple timings. Misclassification, radar sees a blob instead of dozens of small objects. Cost asymmetry, defenders spend more per intercept than attackers spend per drone. Coverage problem, you can't protect every tank, every port, every plant with equal density. And here's the psychological trap. If a strike campaign convinces you that rear nodes are vulnerable, you start moving high-value air defense deeper inside your country, which makes your front line thinner. And even when your defenses claim success, the attacker can still win if you were forced to burn resources, shift priorities, and slow your own tempo. That's why the shock isn't that something got hit. The shock is that modern air defense can be dragged into a grinding war of economics. And economics doesn't care how advanced your radar is. There are 3 reasons the story feels strangely quiet. 1. Western messaging stays careful. Support continues, but public language often avoids anything that looks like direct escalation, so you get statements without drama. 2. Ukraine doesn't always advertise details. Operational security matters. If you're running a campaign, you don't publish a blueprint for your opponent. Sometimes the loudest message is simply that a strike happened, without explaining exactly how. 3. Russia also has incentives to minimize. Admitting severe vulnerabilities in rear infrastructure infrastructure creates uncomfortable questions. Why wasn't it protected? What else is exposed? So the narrative leans toward everything is under control. Everything was intercepted, damage is limited. Even with Novoshakhtinsk, reporting differs by source and framing, but multiple outlets described it as a significant strike, with The Guardian specifically reporting Storm Shadow use. And Sky News reported Russia claimed it had downed multiple Storm Shadow missiles. So what's hidden isn't a secret, it's the strategic meaning that doesn't fit neatly into a headline. This is a war where silence often signals policy, ambiguity protects operations, and the real battlefield includes pipelines, storage tanks, and supply corridors just as much as trenches. Winter turns infrastructure into survival. Ukraine knows what Russian winter strike pressure looks like: energy damage, outages, repairs under freezing conditions. And Russia knows what it means when fuel and processing nodes become uncertain. So both sides are pulling at the same logic. Russia targets Ukraine's ability to function: electricity, ports, logistics. Ukraine targets Russia's ability to sustain the war: fuel, processing, storage. That's why these attacks matter even when they don't end the war overnight. They shape what kind of war it becomes in the coming weeks. A war where repair crews, air defense units, and logistics planners are as important as infantry. And this is where the battlefield breakdown gets real, because the front line isn't just where soldiers stand, it's where supplies can reach. If fuel flow stutters, everything stutters, even partial disruption forces choices. Do you prioritize military convoys or civilian distribution? Do you reroute along safer paths that are longer and slower? Do you concentrate storage for efficiency or disperse it for survivability? Do you keep air defenses at the front or pull them back to protect critical nodes? And when rear infrastructure is repeatedly threatened, planning becomes reactive. Repair schedules slip, maintenance backlogs grow. Logistics becomes a daily puzzle under pressure. That's exactly why Reuters reported the SBU framed the strikes as hitting Russia's budget and complicating logistics and fuel supplies for the army. Because the goal isn't just damage, it's friction. Friction slows rotations, friction slows resupply, friction slows reinforcement surges. And in a long war, the side that controls tempo, quietly, consistently, can win without ever filming a decisive battle moment. If this pattern continues, here's what the next phase likely looks like. Scenario A, Russia hardens and disperses. More point defense around ports/refineries, more decoys, more dispersion of storage. It helps survivability, but it costs efficiency and manpower. Scenario B, Ukraine widens the target logic, not necessarily bigger targets, smarter nodes, places where a hit forces reroutes, scheduling collapse, and higher costs. Scenario C, the EW and air defense duel intensifies. More jamming, more layered systems, more intercepts, more resource burn, and hanging over all of it is escalation management. Every strike deeper inside Russia creates retaliation risk, but also creates leverage. That's why public statements stay careful, while operations keep moving. This is what modern war looks like, a chess match played with fuel lines and radar cones. So what are they hiding? Not a conspiracy, an uncomfortable reality. Modern warfare is being shaped by repeatable disruption, cost asymmetry, and the quiet discipline of campaigns that don't need to trend to be effective. Reuters reported the Temryuk and Orenburg strikes as part of an ongoing strategy, and reporting on Novoshakhtinsk shows the pressure is expanding across energy nodes. Now I want your take. Is the infrastructure war becoming the main war, while the front line becomes the symptom? This video is for educational and analytical purposes. In conflict, details can change quickly, and we describe events as reported when verification is limited. We do not endorse violence or harm against any side. The goal is to understand how modern warfare evolves and why diplomacy remains essential. What they're hiding about Ukraine's attack on Russia will shock you, not because it's secret, because it's systematic, and systems decide wars.